What's up, man? So here's our first little lesson, kind of on soloing and stuff. I got some of the questions that you asked here, kind of pulled up. Let me find them here. If I can get to the actual thing. Anyway, I found some pictures of us on my computer the other day. Kind of back from the old Canadian County Outlaw days with Terry and Dean. There's a lot of good times. Didn't realize how young I was when all that was going on. Anyway, alright, so some soloing ideas, particularly like over blues and stuff like that, kind of like the A, D, and E, kind of blues shuffle kind of things. If you're wanting to get into solos and kind of improvising things like that, blues is a great place to start because a lot of the licks and solos are pretty easy to kind of dissect as opposed to like a Metallica song or a Van Halen song. Even though a lot of that stuff is kind of based in blues as far as the solos go. So blues is a good place to start. So we'll just do everything kind of in A. And you said you already knew some of your pentatonic shapes and stuff like that, so you're probably familiar with this one. It's like a basic A minor pentatonic scale. Everyone's kind of got their own little variation on it, playing it in different ways and things like that. I'm starting up here on the 5th fret of the low E string, and I'm going 5, 8, and then I'm going 5, 7 on A, 5, 7 on D, 5, 7 on G, 5, 8 on B, and 5, 8 on the high E there. And you probably already know that, so that's great. But if you're looking for a place to start and you know this position, it looked like you knew, like you said, you knew several shapes and stuff. So there's lots of pentatonic shapes, kind of all over the place that are all the same thing. So if you know all those, it can be a little overwhelming sometimes to start just kind of playing. So what I suggest is to take like 4 of those notes, and my favorite ones to start with is let's do the 5th fret on the D string. So on D we go 5 and 7, and then on G we go 5 and 7. So you get this little pattern, and you just sit there and you kind of repeat it just over and over till you get it in your head. You can go backwards with it, just over and over again. Also, I don't know if you can see this or not, but I'm doing this kind of alternate picking thing with my pick. So I'm going down and then up. Whoop, with no mistakes here. Down, up, down, up. That's not nearly as important though as just kind of getting the notes here. We can talk kind of about our picking hand later, but it's good to know, it's good to have in your head that that's what I'm doing here. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a little backing track here, and I'm only going to use those 4 notes. Just those 4 right there. So I'm not even going to worry about doing the whole scale or moving up to different positions or anything like that. I'm just taking these 4 notes, and I'm going to see what I can do with it. So I'll send you a link to this backing track here, and I hope you can hear it pretty well. It's just on YouTube, and it's just a blues backing in A. But using those 4 notes, you can play them in any order. You can do anything you want with them. I'm going to start real simple and just kind of play it in the order we learned. Maybe go backwards. Now I'll start kind of moving it around a little bit. I'm doing nothing but playing those 4 notes. And I can feel it wanting to go other places, but I'm keeping myself in that one little area. I kind of slid out there. It's kind of a habit to start adding in some other stuff. staying right there. So there's one note there that kind of stands out, and it's this one here on the 7th fret of our D string. Got it right here, and since we're in the key of A, this is our A note. So this is kind of a good launching point, or like a home base when you're playing, to kind of land on that. And I also want to note one other thing too that I'm doing here. Whenever I'm playing this note here on the 7th fret, I'm just slightly giving it a little bend. Not very much. I'm not like bending the note all the way up or going to a different note or anything like that. I'm just slowly kind of pushing it up there. See if I can get kind of close so you can see what I'm doing. It's just a very slight little bend. Just a little bitty right there. And it just kind of adds a little bit more character to your playing. So here's where things start getting cool. You're talking about wanting to move around the fretboard. So maybe taking like, coming down here from this box up to this box to this one and kind of moving everything around. So it's important to note that the pentatonic scale is really just 5 notes. That's all it is. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then it starts over again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you can go all the way up. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. You gotta go way up there to get that last one, but just 5 notes. And it just repeats over and over and over again. So, because of the way that the fretboard is kind of laid out, if this is an A right here, everything kind of falls in order. So if this is our A, I'm going to show you this little lick here. And I'll write it out, I'll kind of put it in tab or whatever and send a picture of it. And it looks like this. It's real easy. So if this is our A note right here, we're going to have that lick everywhere on the fretboard. Anywhere we can find an A note, we're going to have that little riff. So one of the things that we do when we're starting to learn how to do solos and move around the fretboard is we take this little riff here and we find it everywhere that we can. And it's all going to line up pretty much in the same way. And I'll just kind of walk you through that riff right here. That's the D string there on the 7th fret. We're going to go 7 on D, 7 on G, back up to 7 on D, 5 on G, and then we end back on 7 on D. And that'll be lick number 1. We'll write that out there, and I'll send that to you, lick number 1. Kind of just a classic blues riff. We have that lick everywhere on the fretboard. Anywhere that there's an A note, we're going to have that lick around us. So we have an A way up here. That's the low E string on our 5th fret. And there's our lick. You can come back to here. You got another one way up here. This is the 10th fret of the B string. Right up here. And we're going to use the same pattern. The only time that it kind of changes a little bit is whenever you come way up here on the 14th fret. You have to scoot everything over a little bit, so it's like 14, and then it goes to 15 on our B string. But that's it. So if we have that lick, it means that we can also do this. Write this out. This will be lick number 2. So I'm just taking that same lick and I'm moving it around everywhere on the fretboard. If you have any questions about any of this, of course you can send me a message and I'll explain it maybe a little bit differently or whatever. Whatever you need, I'll definitely help you out. But this is how I play, is I take these little licks and these little ideas that I have, and I'll move them around everywhere on the fretboard. So if I'm playing, I may do a little lick here, and then I'll repeat that lick higher up in another octave. So I'm doing the same thing, but I'm just moving it all around. So I hope that's kind of helpful for you. I'll give you a couple other cool little like blues licks here in A. The cool thing about playing in A, and really about doing any of the blues stuff, anything that's just a 3-chord blues, so you don't have to worry too much about moving between your chords. So like if I'm playing, the typical blues progression in A would be like A, and then D, back to A, and then like an E, and I'm doing E7 and D7 and an A7. You hear this a lot sometimes with like jazz players where they'll talk about playing over the chord progression, and even in country music too. But when it comes to blues, you can pretty much stay in whatever kind of the root key is, or I don't know what you'd want to call that, the home key, the bass key, whatever it is you want to call it, the one chord, which in this case we're playing in the key of A. It's A, so you can pretty much act like you're playing in the key of A and get away with doing all of this stuff. Again, I'm just using those 4 notes. Maybe I'll come up here. So once you kind of get the idea of doing this in all these positions, you can start to combine them all together. So if I'm playing, let me start my backing track here. I'll start it over. You can do something like this. So, just using 4 notes and moving it around, I've already managed to take myself from here to here to up to here. And of course, at the 12th fret, everything starts to repeat. So if you really wanted to, you could come way up here. You could take yourself all the way up the fretboard if you really wanted to. And you're only using 1 lick. So that's the cool thing about this is you can apply it to all the licks you know, just like this one. And then we had lick number 2. Let me show you one more here, and then I'll end this video. That way it's not too long and you can kind of hopefully take everything in. So, I don't know if you're familiar with the blues scale or not, but all the blues scale is adding in 1 more note. So your pentatonic looks like this. The blues scale is going to add in 1 more note. It's going to be there on the, that's the 6th fret of the A string, the 8th fret of the G string. So if we use this one that's here on G, on the 8th fret, and we just add that into our 4 notes, we get a very, very bluesy sound. And if we apply the same kind of logic and reasoning, knowing that this lick here is repeated everywhere on the fretboard, and then that means that this one must be too. So and then way up here, if you really wanted to get up here, We won't worry about going too high up there right now, though. So that's one more little lick here that you can write down, and it's just kind of cruising over. I'll do stuff like that all the time. So let's see, this will be, we'll call this lick number 3. We'll do something like this. So that'll be lick number 3. I'm going to give you one more. I'm going to give you lick number 4, and we're going to add one more note in. We're going to add in the 7th fret here, the low of the A string. So we got something that looks like this. So if you were to use all those, we'll call that I forgot what number we're on. Lick number 4, lick number 5, something like that. There it is. That'll be it. You can also do that same thing up here. Here it changes a little bit. Here, it's mostly the same except for that very last note. You have to slide it over 1 fret. This is the really easy one. When you play this one up here, it's just a low E string is all it is. So when you're working this stuff out, use your ears and come up with kind of a cool lick. It's something that you can work on when you're at home after you kind of work yourself through some of this stuff. Come up with a cool little riff of your own. It could be anything. Maybe it could be something that's real simple, just like this. Something like that. And see if you can use your ears to find it everywhere else on the fretboard. And it's also good to know the notes on your fretboard too. It's not a must, but it definitely comes in handy when you're trying to map things out. And whenever you do this, not necessarily just knowing the notes on your fretboard, but whenever you start mapping all of your licks out and you know, okay, I've got this one here and this one, suddenly you'll find that they all kind of start becoming connected. So I'm only like 1 fret away from this right here. Suddenly everything starts to connect itself together. So I hope this was helpful for you. I hope this is something that, hopefully something you were expecting to get in a video. If not, let me know and I'll tailor it to whatever it is you want, whatever you want to learn or anything like that. You even mentioned sweeping. I can show you how to do some sweep picks. I'm not like a super sweep shredder or anything like that. The hardest part about sweeping is just the dedication and the patience it takes to sit there and go over and over and over at a really slow speed. And then speeding it up. I'm not the greatest at doing sweeps, but I can fake my way through them. So I can even show you some of that stuff later on. It's practice, patience, and dedication is all it takes to kind of get anywhere. And also while you're doing this, don't be scared to try some vibrato, things like that. All I'm doing is just kind of wiggling the string a little bit. It really adds a whole nother level to your playing. So even if you're doing a blues shuffle and it came your turn to do a solo, even if you just played one note but you had some real tasty vibrato on it, it would be awesome. And it looks way more exaggerated than it is when I do a vibrato. It's really not that bad. So I hope this was helpful. Let me know whatever it is you need. If you like this, if you want me to change it up or whatever, let me know. And I will see you next time. See ya.